But let's move forward now to from Finland to Sweden. So, Orren, please tell us more about ClimateView, sorry, and how it's helping cities move from climate plans to real progress.
Will do. Thank you. So I'm Orren Shalit, and let's see if the slides come up. There they are. Okay, so I'm Orren Shalit, and I'm going to talk about ClimateView. So we're colleagues with COSAL, and it's funny, if you look around the world, only really two platforms that are working with really cities and countries, and it's COSAL and ClimateView. So let's talk about ClimateView. So we are around 30 employees working with 331 cities. This probably number isn't updated. We're a Swedish technology company with a very much mission-driven mission. And we have gathered together during the years 300 million SEK invested in just doing this one thing, platform for working with climate for cities. I can't do a demo, so I'll show you just parts of the public dashboard. This one is Sweden's dashboard, driven by three governmental authorities. And this dashboard shows you different things. So it shows you emissions by sector, and you will have exactly the same dashboard for different cities all around the world. So you see where you have lots of emissions and where you have less. You will see the projected reduction pathways per sector, and you will see also that all the sectors are here, and you will also see transparently that where we don't have solution, like in agriculture, no one in the world has really solved this. So here you see the emissions and the relative size between the sectors, but, and here's a big but, what's interesting is not the CO2 levels. What's interesting is what we need to do to get there. And this means we have to understand what's behind the emissions. When you dive into one of what we call the transition elements, one of the shifts that is all very well known to you, like the shift to walking and cycling, what you have in this board is not actually the CO2, it's the amount of people that have to move from their diesel and petrol cars to bikes. So the number here is the share of walking and cycling in percent. And the white line is, of course, historical data with a COVID peak that happened to cycling. So what's important here is that we're talking about the shift to cycling. It contributes to 1% of Sweden's emission reduction. This is a scenario that is built by the different authorities, and the share of walking and cycling is there, not CO2. So again, the transition is about measuring what must happen and what could be measured. You have to have actionable yearly KPIs if you're going to be transparent. And this is what we're trying to bring to the world. You also have, of course, all the different type of interventions, actions, here called in Swedish governmental language, policies and commitments. And in each one of those views, you see how it's going. You see all the actions here and the status of the actions. And when you dive into each one of them, you will see, of course, descriptions, etc. And you will see that they're linked to one or more of transitions, because each one of those transitions is, in fact, following something important. It's following the first law of physics. Each one of those squares is a shift that is calculated in activities, in the energy use, and the resources as used, and the CO2 reduction it means, but also CapEx, OpEx, health benefits, etc. So every time going down to the physics and modeling the physics, the change, and the yearly change, how we're going to change our energy use and energy resources. So give you a structure that provides guidance that enables decisions, collaboration, and action based on the first law of the physics. So we're going from fragmented data to collective action to help people's ability to collaborate by sharing a language across silos, by going from looking at historical data and emissions, instead leaning forward, looking at future shifts, giving you year-by-year data. This is the workshop we're going to do next week in Helsingør in Denmark, is looking together with the traffic people, what are the yearly activity shifts? The collective capacity for action means that this share view really can help you work across the silos. And to do this, you need to connect the data, to have all the data connected into one place, and something that's open source, open logic, with a very clear published framework. Everything has to be open and transparent. And this brings us from a vision of, oh, we should be climate neutral 2030 or 2045, to a transparent plan with those yearly KPIs. And this enables you to have interactive scenario planning with the data platform, where we're going to sit next week with a workshop and we're going to pull levers, and it can be the bus company and the energy company sitting in the same room and taking decisions live, arguing, getting the data into place. And this is what we're doing with local authority after local authority, or like with all the local authorities in Scotland, with a terrific gang that drives the Scottish Climate Intelligence Service, 50% financed by all the local authorities in Scotland, 50% by the government. And what they're doing is incredible. All of the local authorities are there. They've trained 127 people that are working in the platform. They're sharing 292, and now they're sharing the interventions in a shared library so everyone can understand. And each one of those interventions is connected to a physical shift, one or more. And they're just moving things forward incredibly quickly in a framework that guides you in a process. What's the current state? Where are we now? What activities do we have? Number two, what's the strategy? What needs to shift? That is the KPIs, the targets, with how many people on the bikes, how many solar panels and rooftops, the numbers we need to make it actionable. Then the actions, what will we do? And measuring actions towards this yearly KPI, not just to the end solution, but what has to happen this year. And then you have to measure and progress and understand how it's going again and again, and redo and rethink. So in this process, they've loaded all the boards with data, with all the local authorities. They've created scenarios for each transition, gathered existing actions, assessed impact actions, developed new actions, measure, follow up, all those steps. All 32 local authorities, from the big cities of Glasgow and Edinburgh to the smallest rural local authorities, are working with this process step by step. So this is what we're doing, people and systematic decision basis. Our role is simple, but really difficult, because we connect the people who make the decisions, and we connect the data that those decisions rely on. If you want to read more, there's a lot of open source information in our transition element framework that is used now by hundreds of cities, including ECLI USA, that is over 300 city members. And you can read all those papers and those links, and you'll find lots of resources to understand how we're working, excluding the DIN standard for how to measure the impact of actions. And that's it from me.